Alrighty, so let us officially get started. Thank you guys so much for joining. I see that we do have a full house here today, and we're so excited about that. We know that everybody is most probably having a very, very busy day, and we appreciate you spending the next 40 or 45 minutes with us to learn about how SEO and Google AdWords can help your company see more revenue and grow more through business. My name is Elle Spector, and I am the Marketing and Events Coordinator at our company. I spearhead the webinar, seminar, and networking efforts for Ajax Union. So what exactly is Ajax? Ajax Union offers exceptional and affordable online marketing services. Our strategies include extensive search engine optimization, Google AdWords, blogging, smart social media, public relations, video marketing, and even reputation management. With our main office located in the heart of Brooklyn, Ajax Union serves businesses of all kinds and across many different industries, from mom-and-pop retailers to major manufacturers. Really, at the end of the day, we're just a bunch of nerds who can help grow your business online. We invite you to learn more about us by visiting www.ajaxunion.com, by following us on Twitter, twitter.com/AjaxUnion, by showing us some love, liking us on Facebook, facebook.com/AjaxUnion, connecting on LinkedIn, and also if you do have any questions pertaining to these two strategies that we're discussing today or any other strategies that our company does offer, feel free to give us a call anytime, 718-569-1020. I'd love to introduce our first presenter here today, Josh Lewinson. He is one of our AdWords account managers here at Ajax, a very, very knowledgeable and well-versed guy in Google AdWords. And Josh, do you want to say a few words about what you do here at Ajax?
Yeah, thank you so much for the very nice introduction. As Al said, my name is Josh, and I've been at Ajax for almost 4 years now. And full-time, I've been doing online paid search ad optimization, so mainly Google AdWords, Bing, MSN as well, and it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it a lot.
Wonderful. Josh, thank you so much. Also with us here today, we have Matt Saraki, who is one of our agency managers and is extremely well-versed in search engine optimization. Matt, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Sure, thank you, Elle, and hello everybody. My name's Matt Saraki. I oversee a small team of internet marketing experts, and basically what we do is we offer solutions to small, medium, and large businesses for their internet marketing needs, whether it's on-site SEO or AdWords or PRs or the whole gamut. We're essentially a microcosm of the whole company in one place.
Microcosm, awesome word. And with that, let me go into a few housekeeping announcements. Please, please, please ask us questions. All the questions you have pertaining to these two online marketing strategies, feel free to type them into the chat box at any time. We will be answering those questions at the end. Throughout the duration of the webinar, we're going to answer a few of the frequently asked questions that we do receive on a daily basis here at Ajax. And then for the last 20 minutes or so, we're going to take your questions directly. So definitely feel free to type those questions into the chat box. Also, follow along with us on social media. We are extremely social and would love to talk to you more on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll be tweeting using the hashtag AjaxWebinar, so feel free to tweet at us using @AjaxUnion and the hashtag AjaxWebinar. Finally, if you'd like to follow up with me, if you'd like to follow up with Matt or Josh, feel free to send an email to events@ajaxunion.com, and we'll make sure to get in touch. So let us dive into our presentation. Matt, this first question here is for you. It is a 101, very, very basic. What is SEO and how can it help me grow my company?
Well, SEO, of course, stands for Search Engine Optimization, and the idea is to take a given company's website and make it more available to its audience through a variety of techniques. A lot of the things that I said that I do as part of my job, whether it's making improvements to the website itself, whether you are trying to get your name out and your keywords out into the world and funneling back to your business. All of those things are part of search engine optimization. It helps grow your company because the wider your audience is, and especially the wider your targeted audience is, the bigger chance for increased revenue, increased leads, or whatever your objectives happen to be. So if more exposure is what you're looking for your business, SEO can be a very big help.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matt. Josh, next question is for you, and it is very similar. What is Google AdWords, and how can it help me grow my company?
So Google AdWords is the ad platform for buying ads on Google. It is a great tool for growing your business because unlike SEO, which is a long-term strategy, Google AdWords brings you instant traffic. You choose the keywords you want, you write your ads, and as soon as people start searching, your ads start running and bringing people to your website.
Great, thank you. Next up, Josh, we have a follow-up question for you. If I do not have a website, can I still advertise on Google?
So you can, but first, to address not having a website, you definitely want to have a website, especially in this day and age. It doesn't look good for a business, especially business advertising online, if they don't have a website. So you can use AdWords ads to bring people to a Google Places page, your Google Plus page. You need to have a web presence in order to advertise, but you don't need a website per se in order to have a Google AdWords account.
Got it. Thanks, Josh. Next question is for Matt. This is something that we hear all the time. What is black hat or gray hat SEO? Is it bad?
Black hat or gray hat SEO refers basically to techniques used to gain traffic or keyword rankings that has fallen out of favor with Google, Yahoo, and other search engines. It's given that bad connotation, but really it refers more to just outdated techniques, things that worked 10 years ago, such as keyword stuffing or lots and lots of links on a given page, or creating web pages for the sole purpose of having links refer back to your website. All of these techniques have been recognized by Google and Yahoo and Bing and so on as not providing a good user experience. All of these search engines are in the business of having their search engines used. And if the results that they are providing are to sources that aren't a good font of the information that's being sought, obviously the user will turn to a different search engine. So basically it just refers to a series of techniques that have fallen out of favor, that are unhelpful, that attempt to game, for lack of a better word, the search engine system.
Great, thank you. Next question up is also, Matt, a follow-up for you. I know this is a question that we get asked all the time that there's no real answer for, but we'd like just to see the most basic answer we can get for it, or the roundabout estimate. How long will it take me to rank in the top 2 or 3 pages of Google?
Well, obviously, as Elle alluded to, this is a complicated question. The short answer, of course, is it depends. If you are trying to rank for a very, very competitive keyword, say French fries, it could take you forever. If you are trying to optimize something very specific, like say umbrella repair in Flatbush, Brooklyn, chances are you'll get to the top 2 or 3 pages of Google a little bit quicker because your target is a little bit smaller. Generally speaking, if you were making on-site search engine optimization improvements to your personal website or your business website, you can expect the changes to be indexed and basically seeing what your net effect of those changes would be in probably 3 to 4 months. I like to tell my clients that about 100 days, 120 days maximum is how long we can use to as a marker for whether the changes that we've made have taken root or not. Any longer than that, and you probably should try something else.
Got it. Thanks, Matt. And we will be diving into keywords specifically in a few more minutes. I'd also like to remind everyone to feel free to type your questions into the chat box now. We'll definitely get to those at the end, but I'd love to have a running log of questions starting so that we know exactly how much time to leave for them towards the end of the presentation. Next question here. Josh, we are back to you. What is a good strategy for creating a structure for my AdWords account?
That is a great question. When creating a structure for your AdWords account, you really want to think about how your site is organized. So for example, if you are an e-commerce store and you have your products organized into different categories and subcategories, for example, if you sell furniture, and then you have a category of couches, and then within that subcategory you have leather, suede, different types of couches, a good strategy for a structure there would be to have a campaign for couches and then have ad groups broken down into people looking for specific types of couches. So suede couches, leather couches, number of seats like love seats or larger couches. That way all the keywords within your ad group will be relevant to one another, and you'll be able to serve relevant ads that are more relevant than if you just had all your keywords for couches in one ad group or one campaign. Then it would just be one ad serving for all of them. So whether someone searched for an L-shaped couch or a love seat, they'd just get an ad that would be more generic and just speak about couches, as opposed to this where you can really serve an ad that speaks to the customer and makes them much more likely to click on your ad over competitors.
Josh, great. I actually have a follow-up question for you as well before we move to the next slide. Can you just give us one more example, let's say, of a shoe company and how a good strategy for creating a structure for an AdWords account for a shoe company would be?
Sure. So again, you want it organized. The reason I said you want to look at your website of how you have it broken down on your website is because that will let you serve the most relevant landing pages. So when someone clicks on the ad, they'll be taken to a page with everything of what they just searched for. But you could have it organized by different types of shoes. Men and women is a definite thing to break it down by. Then you could have sandals. Even within sandals, if that's a campaign, you could have categories for open toe. I'm not big on shoes, so I don't know a lot of different types of shoes, but whatever it is, you could have a category of, let's say, women's shoes, and then you could have high heels, flats, just different types of that specific make, model of shoe. I don't know what the proper word for it would be, but yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Josh. I know that one of our good friends in the audience does own a shoe company, so I thought this would be especially interesting for him to listen to.
Great.
Yeah, next question up for bat is, how is my ad position determined once I'm actually running Google Ads?
Okay, that's for me again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a bit complicated. Google has a algorithm, obviously, Google and their algorithms, of how they rank your ad. Every time someone searches, every single search query done on Google is another auction between all the businesses that want to show up for that specific search query. So Google takes your maximum CPC that you're willing to pay, that's cost per click, that you're willing to pay for the ad position. Google takes your quality score into the equation. And with that, Google recently added a third parameter called the expected click-through rate, which they don't really tell you much about, but basically you want your ads to have ad extensions, which helps Google to say that, oh, these ads are probably going to get more clicks. But just for simplicity's sake, we'll just go with the main two factors, which is your max CPC, how much you're willing to pay, and your quality score. When Google multiplies your max CPC by your quality score, you get an ad rank number. So for example, if you're willing to spend $1 on the click and your quality score is 8 out of 10, it would be your max CPC of 1 times 8, which would give you your ad rank of 8. Every advertiser gets an ad rank for that option, and the ad rank is how Google decides who gets the ad spot. Now once Google decides who gets the ad spot, Google has to calculate how much you're going to pay for the ad spot. So just because you bid $1 doesn't mean you'll pay $1. In the example I just said, where you have a quality score of 8 and a max CPC of 1, your ad rank would be 8. Let's say the advertiser below you had an ad rank of 7, so your actual CPC, what you're going to pay, is the ad rank of the advertiser below you divided by your quality score. So it would be 7 divided by 8, so you'd end up paying 88 cents for the ad position.
So Josh, what we're also saying is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so Google AdWords, when we're talking about ad position and ad placement, it's not all dependent on how much you're willing to put into it, right? It's not all dependent on, how much you're willing to spend to get those ads running.
Right, for sure not only what you're spending. That does have, it does play a role in determining it, but if you have a really low quality score, let's say your quality score is a 3, and you're willing to pay $2 a click, you will rank lower than someone whose quality score is an 8 and is willing to pay $1 per click. So your max CPC is important, but quality score is extremely important as well. Google does not want advertisers buying their way to the top because they want the user, the person who's searching, to have a good experience and go to someone's site who actually takes care of their website and make sure the quality of the website is up to par.
Great, thank you. And I'm excited that you mentioned quality score a few times. That's my next question that we get all the time. Talk a little bit about what quality score exactly means and what a small business can do if they're advertising on Google to improve their quality score.
Okay, so quality score, again, is one of those things that Google puts a stress on for your ads. They want you to have a good quality score, but they don't tell you exactly what they're looking at when they calculate your quality score. You're able to see the quality score of any keyword that's in your account. If you're in your keywords tab, every keyword will have, hopefully under the status, it will say eligible, and it has a little speech bubble floating above it. If you mouse over that speech bubble, it will show you the quality score for the keyword. You can also add a column for quality score, and then you could see all the quality scores on the dashboard format of the AdWords account. But when Google tells you your quality score there, they give you 3 areas that they look at, which is your expected click-through rate, which I just mentioned before, and that's just Google doesn't tell you how they're figuring that out, but it's just how many clicks Google expects your keyword to bring in for your ad. The ad relevance, which is how relevant the ad serving for that ad group is to the keyword, and the landing page experience. So the way to get, really the best way to get a good quality score is make sure your ad groups have keywords that are relevant to one another. For example, if you have a furniture store, don't put keywords for chairs and tables in the same ad group. Even chairs, if they're couches or wooden chairs, you want to divide it as much as you can, be as specific as you can, so that the keywords and the ads are highly relevant to each other. And as far as landing page experience, that has a lot of a crossover with SEO. If you really just optimize your landing page and make it a great experience for people, make sure the page has a clear defined path that you want the user to take, make sure it loads fast, that will help you with your landing page experience portion of the quality score calculation and benefit you in regard to SEO as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. I think we may have one more follow-up question for you, and then I'm going to take the spotlight off for a minute. We just wanted to also ask, while we're on the subject, what is the display network?
So the Google Display Network is made up of millions, if not more, of websites that accept Google ads on their pages. Instead of having to find their own advertiser, they just sign up for Google. The program is actually called AdSense, if you've ever heard of it. Maybe some people use it. And it's great just for simply finding advertisers. You don't have to do any sales work of getting people to pay for ad positions. Once an ad gets clicked, Google gives the owner of the website some of that money. So everyone's happy. And the way the display network works is you can target specific websites if you want to. You can target by topic. You could tell Google any sites that are related to this topic or interest I'd like my ads to show on. You can even target by keyword. If you put a keyword and tell Google find pages in the Google Display Network that are relevant to these keywords, it could show your ads there as well. So the display network is not as good for sales as the Google Search Network is, because on Google Search, someone is searching for you. They have a need that they're typing into Google to look for a solution for, and you're able to offer that. While on the display network, you're trying to grab people's attention away from whatever they're doing on those websites. Not to say that it won't convert, but the conversion rates will be much lower, as well as the click-through rates. But it is great for branding because it really gets your ad out there. You'll get a lot of impressions. And another advantage of the display network is that it lets you, one of the targeting methods you can take advantage of is remarketing. which once a user comes to your website, you'll have a cookie stored in their browser, and then if they go to a website on the display network, you can have an ad following them. So even if the website that they're on isn't relevant to what you offer, you know that this person is in the market for what you offer since they've been to your website, and the display network lets you stalk them in a caring and sales-motivated sort of way.
Stalk them in a caring and sales-motivated type of way is absolutely awesome. Thank you, Josh. A lot of really, really great content. We're going to dive back to SEO right now, ask a few questions to Matt, and learn a little bit more about search engine optimization. So Matt, this next question is for you. How can I determine which keywords are best for my business and which I should use?
Well, obviously, when you're trying to figure out keywords, you need to bear in mind what the goals of your business are. If your business is, and I'll just go back to the example I used before, umbrella repair, then you're going to want to come up with a list of terms that, if you put yourself in the mind of your customers, what are they asking about on search engines that you can provide the answer to? And that's basically how it starts. You go through what the need of your customer base is, come up with words or phrases that will help them in the search for information related to those terms. And once you have that list, you can start to whittle down by the amount of traffic each keyword receives, what your competitors are doing, what might already be working or not working for your website.
Great, thank you, Matt. And for the audience, a quick reminder to start typing in those questions now so that my team and I can begin filtering them. I saw many, many great questions already coming in, and we're definitely going to save room for those, and we'll get to those in the next 10 or 15 minutes of this presentation. Next question, Matt, also for you, going back to keyword research and ranking for keywords for search engine optimization. Can I rank for super general keywords like pizza place or red umbrella?
Well, the short answer is yes. You can rank for whatever keyword you want if you're able to apply the proper strategy to it. A super general keyword, remember, is only going to be so useful to you depending on what it is you're trying to, what audience you're trying to reach. If you're a nationwide chain of pizza places, then obviously optimizing for a general term like pizza place might make sense. However, if you're a small chain, say 5 or 6 franchises in Manhattan, you're probably better off drilling down and being a little bit more specific with the phrase that you're trying to optimize for, only because the more relevant and targeted that term is for your audience, the traffic that does arrive to your website is more likely to undertake the action that you want, whether it's to buy a product from your website or contact you, lead generation, those kind of things. So it really boils down to what do you want that traffic to do once you've achieved that good ranking.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Next question. Josh, this one is back to you. What is a keyword match type?
A keyword match type is how Google knows basically how liberal to be when deciding which search queries from a user can trigger your keyword and ad. So to explain that a little more, you can't have every possible keyword for the way someone might be searching for you in your account. There's just so many ways people search. So in order to still bring in a significant amount of traffic for you, Google has a way to see if someone searches for if someone performs a search that is close enough to your keyword, Google will trigger your ad. But the question is, how close is close enough? So if you're really comfortable with letting Google just decide, pretty much have free reign of what search queries are close enough to your keyword, use something like broad match. So then if Google feels it's relevant, your ad will show up. If you want it to keep it a little more restrictive and not let anything, not let just anything trigger your keyword, you have the option of using the broad match modifier match type, which you write that by putting a plus sign in front of each word, and then Google will make sure that that word itself is in the person's search query when the person is searching on Google, but it will also account for misspelling and close synonyms, I believe is how Google says it. So they don't have to search exactly what you have as your keyword, but it's going to be a much more relevant match than if it was on broad. The next match type that Google lets you use is the phrase match type, which you write by putting the keyword in quotation marks. And what that does is it requires the words that you have in the quotation marks to appear exactly that way in a user search query, but it could have any words before and any words after, but not any words in the middle. So if your example, for example, your keyword is scuba gear, and you have that as a phrase match type, buy scuba gear will trigger your ad, scuba gear on sale will trigger your ad, but scuba diving gear won't, because the word scuba gear did not appear exactly as it does in your keyword between the quotation marks. The last match type you could use is exact, which is by writing brackets around the keyword. You're telling Google that you only want this keyword to show up if someone searches exactly what you have. So if you have a very niche product or a product that has a similar name to something else, and you want to make sure that your traffic is extremely relevant, that's when you use that match type. So you get less clicks, but your clicks would be higher quality. The last thing that Google has as a match type, actually, it's not really, it's not for getting traffic, it's the opposite, it's for excluding traffic, is the negative keyword match type, and that's telling Google that if you see this word in a user search query, don't let my ad show up. So an example we like to say is if you're selling cruises, if that's what your business is, you want to add Tom as a negative so that no one searching for Tom Cruise will see your ad because they are not relevant.
Perfect. Thanks, Josh. And which keyword match type do we usually get started with? Or is there a standard that we like to use for, let's say, businesses just getting started with Google AdWords?
So again, it depends on what you're offering, how specific your product is, or how many searches that are close but not relevant could possibly be showing up. I do like broad match modifier. I just find that it gives you a fair amount of clicks while still making sure that Google doesn't run wild. Because I have seen some search queries that Google finds relevant enough, and I don't really understand. It's not relevant pretty much. So I like broad modifier, but broad is fine if you have more of a budget or if you didn't add that many keywords and you're only adding a few keywords but you still want a significant number of clicks. So it really depends on what your goal is, how many keywords you have, and what your budget is. But yeah, broad modifier I'd say is my favorite if you wanted to know that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you. Just a friendly last-minute reminder, we are going to start taking questions from the audience in about 5 more minutes. So definitely make sure to type those into the chat box so that we can begin to filter them out and make sure that we get all of your questions answered here today. Next question. Josh, I think this might be one of the last ones for you. How do I write a great ad? Let's say you've convinced us here today to start advertising on Google AdWords. What are my steps in writing an awesome advertisement?
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so when you write an ad for Google AdWords, you want to consider that there are some restrictions on the number of characters you're allowed in the ad, so you want to be direct and to the point with what you're offering, while at the same time you don't want to sound too promotional and scammy and spammy. So if you write in all your selling points in the ad, like free, quote, no hassle, whatever, it comes across as a bit spammy at times. So what you really want to focus on is having a clear ad that defines what it is you offer and features a call to action, which is telling someone call now, visit now. Click here is not allowed since it's been said so many times it doesn't have a positive connotation anymore, so Google doesn't allow you to say click here, but you could say visit now, call now, shop now, come in today for whatever it is you're offering, but a call to action is definitely a good practice. It lets people know what the next step to take in your conversion process is, even though it's obvious you want them to click on the ad. It really does help. Google has shown that higher click-through rate ads are the ones that have a call to action. If your item that you're selling is either really expensive or really cheap, you want to put the price in the ad if you can, if it's relevant to the group of keywords that that's showing for. And that's because if your item is really cheap, the price is a selling point and shows people that you have a very good price on it. If the item is really expensive, it will hopefully stop people who are not ready to pay that for the item from clicking on your ad, so you don't have to pay for those clicks that aren't going to result in conversions.
Excellent, Josh, and thank you. That was a really great example with the two different price points.
Great.
So Matt and Josh, I'm going to give this question to each of you guys, but first to Matt. If I do not have a very large budget, what is the best way for me to proceed with getting started with SEO?
Well, if budget is a concern and you already have your website, the best way to proceed is to do a little bit of research on your own in terms of what particular words or phrases, i.e. keywords, would matter to my audience or my potential customers. And there are, once you have that list, a lot of ways, not very expensively, that you can pair those phrases and terms with your website itself in order to at least make sure Google knows that you are a source of information for those terms. One easy way to get started is to make sure that the metadata on your website contains these phrases that are relevant to your audience. Now, what is metadata? Metadata refers to basically a number of things, but in this context, the title of your website. I don't mean the name of your business, but just the title of a given page. So like very commonly a website will have pages with titles like About Us, Contact Us, Services, and so forth. Those are the titles I mean. Those titles can be adjusted to include keywords that are relevant to your topic. So instead of just services, you could title the page for your umbrella store, Umbrella Repair Services. That tells Google in no uncertain terms that if someone clicks this link, they're going to land on a page with information relevant to that term. So you can go through your website and very quickly make changes to your meta title and also your meta description. Now, when you search for anything on Google and other search engines, you'll see the meta title and the meta description. Those show up on the search engine results page, usually with a blue link, and that is your meta title for that page, and then a little bit of text underneath it, and that is the meta description. So two things can happen here. One, you're letting Google know, if you optimize both of those pieces of data, what it is that given page is all about, and two, you're providing a call to action opportunity. So you're giving folks who are searching for these terms basically one of your last best pitches to get them to click you versus your competitors. And changes like that can be done very simply, very cheaply, especially if your website isn't super complicated. And once you do that, you should have a much better chance of getting Google's attention. So I would say meta titles, meta descriptions. Make sure that your website has a sitemap. A sitemap is a simple file. It's just an XML file or a text file that contains a list of all of the internal links on your website that you want to be indexed by these search engines. So you can create that. There are a whole realm of free sitemap generator websites. If you just Google the phrase sitemap generator, you're sure to find one. And if your website isn't a big e-commerce site, say, but just like a pamphlet site, like for services, you should very easily be able to generate a sitemap, and from there you can either give it to your developer to upload, or you can submit it yourself to what's called Webmaster Tools, which is a free suite of tools that Google provides, and it basically gives search engines another way to ascertain what it is you're trying to provide a visitor in terms of information. So meta titles, meta descriptions, and sitemaps can really go a long way, and without a lot of money, to explaining to the internet what it is your website does. And on the off-site side, you can also for free, create a series of social media profiles. Those do have an impact on your SEO. So Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Instagram, LinkedIn. It really depends on which platforms are most relevant to your audience. What are they using? But each of those platforms can contain an About Us section. And in there, you can include your keywords, your contact information, the phrases that are relevant to what your business is, and how to reach you. All of those things will conspire along with your metadata, your meta descriptions, to help shine a light on what it is you're up to and make your website more visible in the process.
Matt, thank you. Excellent synopsis. Quick follow-up question for you. I know you definitely detailed it, but maybe in another sentence or two, can you just quickly describe the main difference between the two different optimizations you spoke of, between off-site SEO and on-site SEO? What is the difference? Yes.
Sure. When you're trying to optimize organically, you basically have two paths to do it. One is to optimize your actual web page itself, and that's when you're doing the things I'm describing, not just meta titles and meta descriptions in a sitemap, but also the text information that you provide, or even the images and the graphics. All of these things can be purposed to serve your optimization needs, whether it's renaming images and titling them so that Google knows what they are, including keywords or phrases in the headlines of specific elements of your page's text content. And on the off-site side, off-site search engine optimization refers to a very wide strategy of all of the things that you do to funnel that traffic back to your website. One way that we described is via social media, and in particular optimizing the about profiles of each of these platforms. There are other things you can do too. One thing that you'll hear a lot when you're looking up how to optimize a website is what's called link building. Now, basically that's just a fancy word for a link to your website on another website that is trusted for its own reputation, its own viability as a source of information. So you're basically getting the rub from a trusted website that your website is also a good source of information for a given topic. There are a lot of ways that you can build links, obviously things like reviews or guest blogging. There are a whole raft of ways to do it, press releases. It kind of goes on and on. But off-site search engine optimization is basically just this series of techniques that are pairing what it is your business objectives are with the phrases that encapsulate that in a trusted environment that Google and other search engines recognize, so that you are getting increased exposure as a result of your trust in the wider community.
Excellent, Matt. Thank you. I'm going to ask you guys each one more question, and then we're just going to get started with the questions from our audience here today. So, Josh, this last question for you is, how do I know if AdWords is working? Basically speaking to, how do I track the progress of my account and know if what I'm doing is actually helping my business?
So AdWords gives you views of a lot of very helpful metrics to understand how your keywords are performing, especially once you link Google Analytics with your AdWords account. You could see your click-through rate, which is how many people, in regard to the number of people seeing your ad, how many of them are clicking on it. Higher click-through rate means you're showing to the right audience. You can see how long people are spending on your site. So if people are spending a nice amount of time, again, you know you got the right kind of click coming in. You can see how many pages people are viewing per visit. You can see if people are leaving from the same page they came onto. So all of that gives you an idea if you're showing whether or not you're showing up to the right audience via your keywords. AdWords also lets you track conversion. So whether conversion is a sale, a form submission, a certain amount of time spent on the site, a specific page being visited, whatever you want the conversion to be, whatever metric of your success you want to track, AdWords will let you know which keyword brought in a click that resulted in that. So make sure conversion tracking is set up for what you want. and check on your keywords and see which ones are converting, which ones are performing well, and that will tell you for sure whether or not it's working for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Josh. And Matt, last question for you is basically the same. Is it the same when tracking SEO? Is it just as easy to track your progress and see whether or not your metrics are being met?
Oh, sure. There are lots of ways to track how your organic SEO is doing. The most common way would be to use Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a bunch of free tools similar to Webmaster Tools, but it's much more in-depth. And you basically install Webmaster Tools and Google Analytics the same way. There's a little bit of code that Google provides in Analytics that you install into the source code of your website. And once it's there, it starts relaying information that you can take a look at, and over time track the progress of not just your key performance, which Webmaster Tools helps you with. These two things are very similar, by the way, Google Analytics and Webmaster Tools. They work hand in hand. But not only can you see what search queries are coming into your website, what you're ranking for over time, but you'll also be able to drill down and see what pages folks are visiting, how long you're spending there, where they come from, where else in the site they're going, do they convert, do they not convert, and why. On top of those tools from Google, there are also tools that you can use all over the place that can let you gauge, say, for example, how your keywords are performing. There's a plugin that Firefox users know about that's called, simply enough, Rank Checker. You install that in your browser, and once you type in any domain at all, McDonald's.com, you can see how McDonald's.com is ranking for French fries or cheeseburgers or anything like that. So there are lots of free tools. There are lots of paid tools as well that will let you know not only how your website's doing and how your keyword rankings are doing and how the pages that you're trying to get people to visit are performing, but how your competitors are doing, how their SEO is going, what ideas you can take away from them and implement yourself. So there are many ways, but I would start with the free stuff, which tends to be Google Analytics, Google Webmaster Tools, and Rank Checker for Firefox.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. So now let's take a few questions from the audience. I did see a few people write in and say that we got to their question, so that's awesome. For the questions we did not yet get to, we are going to ask those now. First question comes from Dan and Jen. Both asked very similar questions, so I'm going to address the question together. Josh, this question is for you. What should a small e-commerce business plan to be budgeting for beginning on Google AdWords?
So that really depends on your budget, of how much you can afford. Now, obviously, that's not a helpful answer because that's basically the question right back at you, but it really just means different businesses could afford to put a different amount toward advertising. AdWords, there are definitely strategies you want to implement before just blindly throwing in keywords, but it's really about testing. So you have to see, you have to have a budget that you're willing to test with. If you really can't afford, if this money is the last lifeline of your business, you don't want to just test with it. So you really have to have a budget that you can afford to test with and see if it works for you. That being said, there are ways to make sure that you don't spend more than you want to. You can set up budgets for each campaign. You could set up a shared budget across different campaigns for all your campaigns if you want, so you'll know that your whole account won't go over a certain dollar amount per day. And you can also scale back either on location or different times of the day to conserve your budget. So let's say $1,000 if you have a small business. If that's something you could afford, that is a good place to start. And if you're only open from 9 to 5 and you're a service-based industry, maybe only run your ads from 9 to 5 so that you know that someone will be in the office to answer the phone and you won't have to pay for clicks that if someone tries to call in, they won't get you. They'll have to submit a form. Maybe something will get lost there, and that will conserve your budget. The same thing for location. If you, again, if you're a service-based company and you only service a certain area, or if you're an e-commerce company and shipping within a certain area is a better price for you since it's closer, start with only running your ads in targeting a specific geographical location, and that will conserve your budget as well.
Excellent, Josh. Thank you. Matt, next question is for you. You spoke about link baiting. Brian wants to know, what is an example of a website that would be a reputable source to attempt to get your link on?
That's an interesting question. An example of a website where you'd like to have a link come in from. So an inbound link, and I'm just typing this question out so I can refer to it, a good inbound link tends to be a trusted source of information that already exists. So like, say, an industry blog that has to do with a given topic that's related to your field. You know, if you sell electronics and there's a popular smartphone review site, or you know, a technical forum or some place like that. You know, what the whole point of backlinking is to enhance the conversation that's going on about a given subject. So you just look for industry-related content that already exists, where people are already having a conversation about the things that your audience cares about, and getting involved and piping up. And sometimes that means you know, going tit for tat with trading information. I'll write you a blog post for yours if you write a blog post for mine. But I would start with basically doing a search for the terms and phrases that matter to you, and looking for avenues where people are already having that discussion, and contributing content to those websites that's useful, while at the same time linking back to your own website. So that's one way you can do it. Another example of, and this isn't a particular website, but another good backlinking strategy, if you have the resources to do it and you want to provide some thought leadership, would be to use press releases and give them a wide distribution. So a press release serves two purposes: one, to inform the actual reader, and two, to inform search engines that you have information on a given topic that's relevant to the keywords you're targeting and links back to your website. Once you've created a press release of, say, 300-400 words, maybe you have a new product that you're laying out, or an improvement to it, or, you know, there are many, many angles to a good press release, but the idea is to distribute that content, and, you know, PR United and many other services will allow you to do this, disseminate that content amongst many, many news organizations. They all have spaces for these press releases, and that gives you a nice, trusted platform to link back to your website. So I would say industry blogs, you know, any place where there's a conversation going about your topic, and press releases are two good places to create inbound ads. Another, and this is slightly falling out of favor, I don't think it's as helpful as it used to be, but things like custom directories, yellowpages.com, places like that are also helpful, but not as much as they used to be.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. And just to add to that, this is from a personal experience, but we actually got a great lead call into our office just yesterday, and when we asked where they were able to find our website, they said it was from yellowpages.com. So might be hindering a little bit, but still something that definitely does exist. Let me see here. Matt, I believe this next question is also for you. Is it Janae or Jamie? I'm not sure, but Janae wants to know the difference between sessions and page views, and is one more important than the other? Can you speak to that? I believe that's regarding Google Analytics.
Sure. Google Analytics, for whatever reason, decided to shake up the nomenclature behind some of the information that they provide. So sessions is basically what visits used to be. So a visit equals a session. A page view is a little bit different. A page view refers to activity that occurs during that session or during that visit. So in one session, you might have several page views. You know, your session may begin with the home page, and you might wind up viewing the services page, the About Us page, and the contact page all at once. So each of those views are important for research purposes and to know how your website's performance is going, but the session refers to the overall visit.
Excellent, thank you. And I believe we have time for only two more questions, and Josh, I'm going to direct both those over to you. This first question we might need to look into this, but the question comes from Jay, and Jay wants to know, is there a WordPress plugin to work with AdWords to track conversion that is created in a third-party website?
Not that I know of offhand. You mean to be able to see if you have a sale happening on someone else's website besides your own for your item?
I believe so.
I don't know of any offhand.
Jay, if you want, if you'd like to type in your email into the chat box, we can look into that for you and get back to you. And just please provide a little bit more information on whether or not that was the right way that we took the question. But one more question that we do have time for today. Jay and Christina both asked a similar question. And Josh, I know you already answered it, but the question was asked again, so I'm just going to ask you to talk about it one more time. I'm going to read this out. So this question comes from Jay, and again, Christina had a very similar one. We sell fairly expensive products in the $300 to $1,000 range. However, there are similarly functioning products at a much lower cost that don't really equate to ours in comparison. The issue is, what is the best strategy for advertising our products on Google and avoiding spending excessive money from users who are not interested in spending in our range? And again, Josh, this question is for you regarding ads.
Okay, yeah, so one of the things I said before about writing ads, it sounds like putting the price in the ad would help with that. Another thing I would do is look for the keywords for people searching for high-end, whatever that product is, or just keywords that basically are the type of keywords that you would assume that people who are searching for that are looking for a higher quality version and not just the one that does the job but is cheap and will probably break. And lastly, just play up the quality in the ad. So say 100% real, or I don't know what the product is, but stainless steel, just talk about the quality as a selling point along with the price if you could fit it in, to really let people know that this is, even though there are other products like it, this is the quality that's the selling point. Even though it costs more money, it's worth it.
Excellent, thank you. And everybody, that seems to be all we have time for today. The last question I have for everybody in the audience is, what sort of panel-style Q&A webinar would you like to hear about next? Would you like us to do one about social media or press releases, maybe a 2.0 on AdWords or SEO? We can talk about video. Please write into the chat box and let us know what sort of webinar you would be interested in watching for our next one, which will probably be held about 2 to 3 weeks from today. So feel free to type that into the chat box. And otherwise, we definitely do thank you for joining us for this past hour. We also invite you to like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/AjaxUnion to keep in touch with us, stay in the loop on future webinars, as well as a lot of other events that we have, ebooks, videos, and tons of great content that comes in-house from our website. I see a lot of people writing in that this was very, very helpful. And I'd love to thank our two presenters here, Josh and Matt. Everybody thinks that you guys did a great job and there was a lot of valuable information. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you to our presenters, and we will email you about a future webinar that we will be having. Thank you guys again, and have an awesome day.